The Department of Education provides crucial funding for things like special needs programs, and abolishing it would change the way grants are distributed.
President Trump is expected to sign off on the dismantling of the Department of Education later today.
This is very controversial. This as he gives a temporary exemption on tariffs for U.S. automakers. Let's get right to Good Day's Briella Tomasetti. She's been tracking this all morning, and she has the details.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon promised Title I funding for low-income institutions will remain in place, and student loans are not on the chopping block either. According to a leaked internal memo, an order to close the books on the Education Department is on the way.
Trump just announced he wants to completely demolish the Department of Education and put the lady from WWE in charge. Yes, Linda McMahon, who made her fortune watching men in spandex fake punch each other, is now Trump's education expert. Meanwhile, he's backing off those tariffs he was so proud of last week and casually planning to deport 200,000 Ukrainians while their country is literally being bombed.
Its funding helps students across the country by investing in college programs, supporting mental health initiatives, and addressing teacher shortages. Cuts are also in the foreseeable future for the Department of Veterans Affairs. President Trump is expected to direct his brand new Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, to dissolve the department via executive order, meaning she'll be tasked with shutting down the federal agency she was just confirmed to lead. Chief of Staff Christopher Cyrek sent a memo to senior agency officials this week, telling them to return the agency to 2019 staffing levels of just under 400,000 employees. That would mean cutting more than 82,000 workers.
Even Putin's like, dude, that's cold. But don't worry, we've got all the ridiculous details right here. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. So Trump wants to completely kill the Department of Education and put Linda McMahon in charge of its funeral, because nothing says education expert like someone who made millions watching guys in tights fake punch each other. If you're wondering who Linda McMahon is, she's the co-founder of WWE Wrestling and former Small Business Administration head. Now she'll be supervising the dismantling of a department that oversees education for 50 million American students. That's right, the lady who brought you Stone Cold Steve Austin will now be deciding if your kids learn algebra. Makes total sense. Here's where it gets interesting.
Trump spoke yesterday with the leaders of Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, the parent company of Chrysler and Jeep. The conversation resulting in a one-month exemption. In other news, President Trump is giving U.S. automakers some temporary relief from the new tariffs imposed on Canada and Mexico.
Republicans only have 53 Senate seats, but need 60 votes to officially close the department, which is why they're planning to just slowly bleed it dry instead. It's like watching someone kill a houseplant by forgetting to water it for 6 months. Oh no, the education department died. How did that happen? So weird. Trump's genius tactical move here is pretty obvious. He keeps getting attacked by smart people, so his solution, outlaw smart. Can't have critics if nobody can read their criticism. Four-dimensional chess, folks. Their big plan is to turn control over to the states, which is code for Mississippi. Your kids aren't going to be able to spell Mississippi anymore. Some states are already so underfunded they're moving to 4-day school weeks. With Trump's plan, we'll be down to Education Tuesdays by 2026. Meanwhile, Democrats are fighting back with checks notes. TikTok dance videos? We've got protesters chanting, "Whose streets? Sesame Street," outside NPR. Really effective strategy, guys. Nothing stops an education dismantling bulldozer like a hashtag and some clever signage. Let's be honest about what's happening. This is about creating a less educated population that's easier to manipulate. The less educated we are, the more likely we are to believe wrestling is real, and that windmills cause cancer, and that Trump won the 2020 election. Is Trump really appointing WWE's Linda McMahon to dismantle the Department of Education? Absolutely. The same woman who marketed chair smashing as entertainment will now decide if your kids learn science. I'm looking forward to the new education standards where math problems will be solved by body slamming your opponent, and history class just shows old WrestleMania footage. From education demolition to economic confusion, Trump's now walking back those massive tariffs he slapped on our neighbors. After months of threatening Canada and Mexico with economic doom, he's suddenly backing down faster than a WWE wrestler taking a fake hit. Canada was so mad they actually pulled American whiskey off their shelves. And you know things are serious when Canadians get angry enough to stop apologizing. While Trump flip-flops on trade deals, he's doubling down on his deportation obsession. His latest brilliant idea, sending 200,000 Ukrainians back to their country. You know, the one currently being bombed to smithereens. It's so cruel that even Putin might be thinking, slow down there, comrade. But Trump's BFF Elon Musk is fully on board, endorsing plans to pull out of NATO and the UN. Pretty impressive commitment to pulling out for a guy with 14 kids who clearly never mastered that skill in his personal life. JD Vance isn't being left out of the cruelty contest either. He's down at the border talking about finishing Trump's wall because apparently the administration isn't working hard enough to make sure nobody wants to live here anymore. They're like the world's worst Airbnb hosts. 1 star, place was full of racists, and the eggs cost $7. Speaking of culture wars, Trump installed himself as chairman of the Kennedy Center, causing Hamilton to cancel its run. Word is it'll be replaced by Kanye West Side Story, followed by an all-white production of The Wiz. Next up, they're replacing the Hamilton soundtrack with Kid Rock songs and a dramatic reading of Trump's McDonald's orders. Meanwhile, Americans are facing an egg shortage so severe that Trump's agriculture secretary suggested we all get chickens during a bird flu outbreak. That's like telling people to buy boats during a hurricane. People are getting so desperate they're selling eggs on Facebook Marketplace for $7 a dozen. Some are even giving them away for free, though from the sketchy photos, accepting those eggs might be the last decision you ever make. To test how badly we need education in America, we asked people on Hollywood Boulevard how birds reproduce. One person confidently explained that chickens eat rocks to form eggshells. Another insisted all male birds have very large penises. They don't. My favorite was the guy who described bald eagles doing a death spiral mating ritual where they lock talons, spin towards the ground, and then a baby comes out. I'm no ornithologist, but I'm pretty sure that's not how eagle sex works. The irony here is absolutely mind-blowing. At a time when only 27% of Americans can correctly answer basic scientific questions, Trump's brilliant solution is to gut education even further. Who needs to understand science when you can have opinions instead, right? It's like watching someone try to put out a fire with gasoline while wearing a fire safety expert hat. This educational demolition derby isn't just random stupidity, it's strategic stupidity. A population that struggles with basic facts becomes the perfect audience for whatever reality show version of politics Trump wants to sell next. Can't tell fact from fiction. Perfect! You're just the voter Trump's looking for. So here's to Trump's Make America Functionally Illiterate Again campaign. It's going spectacularly well, and unlike his border wall, this is one destructive promise he might actually keep. Because nothing says great again like being too confused to realize how badly you're being conned.